Hey there YouTube, the Valicorn here. Let's get started. Hey there YouTube, the Valicorn here, coming to you today with a OCG deck profile. Now this deck is kind of interesting. OCG just recently had a very large tournament, one of the larger ones that they have during the year. They had 435 participants. First place was a Verz Rabbit deck. Second place was Hero Beat. Third place was Verz Rabbit. Fourth place is the deck that I'm going to talk about. Because we are soon getting the cards that could make it possible. So fourth place was a Flame Star in the TCG that'll be FireFist deck. Now the unique thing about this deck is that unlike most other FireFist decks that have come out so far, this particular deck utilized Verz Raider. Now I'm sure many of you remember Verz Raider from the TV series. Being in Kaiba's arsenal. He's a 1900 normal monster, so he's on par with Sabersaurus as far as attack goes, and at least has some defense, 1200 defense. That's not terrible. So the first thing you should notice about the deck is that there are 3 vanillas and 2 rabbits. This is mostly due to the fact that the OCG does have Daigusto Emerald, so and it can send 3 monsters back and you get to draw a card, so you get to use Rabbit again. So it's easier for them to do that without using Pot of Avarice and without running multiple sets of vanillas. So that's a card that hopefully we'll get in the TCG soon. Right now we have it in Dual Terminal, but who knows when we'll actually get the Hidden Arsenal legal play version of it. Anyways, back to the deck profile. So we have the 3 Verz Raiders, 3 FireFist Bears. He's the one that if he deals damage to your opponent, you can set a Fire Formation spell card, and once per turn you can send a Fire Formation to destroy a monster your opponent controls. Dragon, if a Fire Formation card is activated, you can set a Fire Formation trap card. And if you can send 2 face-up Fire Formation spell traps you control to the graveyard and special summon a Fire Fist from the graveyard, except for Dragon. We have 3 Gorillas. He's just like Bear, except he has to destroy a monster to set a Fire Formation card, and he destroys spells and traps as opposed to monsters. And then double Rescue Rabbit. And that really does it for the monsters. Then we have 3 Fire Formation Tenki. That's your Searcher. Searches any level 4 or lower Beast Warrior. Also, the important part about this, all Beast Warrior monsters you control gain 100 attack. I'll get to why that's important in a second. Tensu, also the same thing. All warrior monsters gain 100 attack. This one is a continuous double summon. So each turn you get to summon an additional monster, or additional beast warrior monster, in addition to your normal summon set. Double Lance, Heavy Storm, triple MST, Monster Reborn, 1 Night Beam, 2 Pot of Duality. So a lot of spell trap hate in this deck. You have the 3 Gorillas, you have 2 Lances to get around their traps, you have Heavy Storm, you have 3 Typhoon, and a Night Beam. He did not like traps. A lot of decks are running heavy traps. If you can see with these Verz Rabbit decks, you got 12 there, you got 8 here, you got 10 here. A lot of decks running, just obscene amounts of traps. I mean, you got 13 in this deck right here. So spell trap destruction is important for this deck to be able to go off successfully. Anyway, speaking of traps, onto them. 2 Bottomless, 2 Compulse, 2 Fire Formation Tensin, 1 Solemn Judgment, 2 Warning, Starlight Road, and 2 Torrential. And the last trap is 1 Deck Devastation Virus. This card is genius in this deck because of this reason. Not only can you overlay, in the OCG, into Verz Ouroboros or Black Ship of Corn to tribute off for this effect, you also can have a face-up Verz Raider with Fire Formation Tenki or Tensu on the field, or even Tensin. Any of these 3 cards face up on the field makes Verz Raider meet the requirements for Deck Devastation Virus. And this card is, just like it says, extremely devastating to most meta decks right now. hits your opponent's rabbits, so you don't have to worry about them. Hits all wind-up cards, basically. You get the idea. It's just very, very powerful, and it can shut your opponent down before they can get their major plays off when you draw it. Now, the benefit of this deck is it does play the grind game very well. Like Inzectors, you're using Bear and Gorilla to pop monsters away. Between these two, you can usually field at least 1 or 2 monsters each turn. Rabbit plus Tensu is ridiculous because you can go Rabbit, pop 2 Vorse Raiders on the field, activate Tensu, summon one of these guys, activate Deck Devi, tribute one of the Vorse Raiders, use this guy to send Tensu, blow up their monster, attack for big damage, then overlay into guys, and it's just kind of ridiculous. So FireFist's going to be very powerful when they come out, and they play a very good grind game, and they kind of slow it down because of all these trap cards they run. They try to slow your opponent down more so than destroy or take down your opponent's life points quickly. Moving on to side deck. Some decent choices here, some questionable choices as well, but I can see where he's coming from. We got 2 DD Warrior Lady. I'm not sure exactly what this might be going against, or what he would put them in against, I should say. Maybe against Dark Worlds, get rid of their Grapha. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Triple Effect Veiler. I imagine this is going against possibly Rabbit, mostly wind-ups though. Would be my best guess. Maybe even against the mirror match, stopping these guys from getting their effects to set spells and traps. Wouldn't be a bad idea. 2 Thunder King, because Thunder King's just too good. He sides Dark Hole. He doesn't even main Dark Hole. Granted, though, you do have plenty of destruction in the main deck with all the traps, as well as 3 Bear. So Dark Hole, I can see why it's unnecessary, but against those OTK decks, when you stop their play, you do need to be able to come back and destroy them. Seal of Orichalcos. This kind of throws me for a loop, but at the same time, I can understand it. You've got all these cards to boost your monster's attack power, so you add on that extra 500. Bears 2100, Gorillas 2100, Dragons 23, Vorse Raiders are all 24, Rabbit's a pathetic 800. You get the idea. So, and then you just tack on these, and it just goes up even higher and higher and higher. Also, the ability to protect if you have, a dragon out, or you have your Vorse Raiders out, the ability to protect your Bear and keep him from being destroyed by your opponent is pretty invaluable when you're looking at all the effects of the Seal of Orichalcos. He sides 3D Prison, so I guess for decks that attack more as opposed to summon, like Dark Worlds and stuff like that, he might side out the Torrentials, and maybe a Starlight or a Warning or something, and pop in the 3 of them. Double Warlords and Transmigration Prophecy. Transmigration Prophecy is a lot better right now than people give it credit for. You side it in against Mermails, so when they discard their 2 cards to summon Abyss Megalo, you chain Transmigration Prophecy on the cost, send their monsters back to the deck. They just went -2, and they don't get any of the effects. So, not a bad card. And pretty much every side deck has Transmigration Prophecy in it. I say that, and of course, the first place deck doesn't have it, and neither does the third place deck, but you get the idea. Let's see here. So moving on to the extra deck, we have 1 Stardust to go with the Starlight, 2 FireFist Tiger Kings. Now, this guy's great because when you succeed summon, you get to set a Fire Formation card from your deck to the field, so you get Tenki, Tensu, Tensen, or whichever one you want, really. You can detach an Exceed material, and he negates the effects of all face-up monsters on the field, except for Beast Warrior monsters. So, not a bad effect, especially I had someone pop this down on me while I had Trag on the field and made Trag absolutely worthless. His last effect, not exactly going to happen all that often, but you can send 3 face-up fire formation. I am tongue-tied today. Spell trap cards you control to the graveyard and special summon 2 level 4 lower Beast Warrior type monsters with the same attack from your deck in face-up defense position. So you can pop out double bear or bear and a gorilla, etc. Obviously, the one emerald that we don't have, one Terrafang Direwolf, one Nightmare or Evilswarm Nightmare, and one Evilswarm Ouroboros. Nightmare's fun. When your opponent special summons a monster, you get to flip it face down. Evilswarm Ouroboros, it's Trishula, but a lot less OP. You can only activate one of these effects. You can activate these effects once per turn. Not all of them, unfortunately. So you only get one per turn. So you can target a card and return it to the hand, send a random card from their hand to the grave, or banish a card in their graveyard. You can only activate each of those effects once while the card's on the field. Then we have Gagaga Cowboy, Maestroke, Giant Hand. This one's interesting because you can use, it's just 2 level 4 monsters. You detach 2 materials to negate the effect or a monster effect activated by your opponent during either player's turn. So it's an effect failure that can be used on both turns, and that monster also can't change its battle position. Let's see, and it stays. The effect will stay negated while this card's on the field. So when we eventually get it, I think it'll be fun to play and it'll be interesting to see what people do with it. But overall, I still think there are better things that you could do with your 2 level 4s for the most part. Anyways, Shockmaster, of course, 1 Utopia, 1 Black Ship of Corn, 1 Utopia Ray, 1 Steel Swarm Roach. So just wanted to bring this deck to you guys mainly because I think the inclusion of Vorse Raider and Deck Devi in this deck just ups its arsenal even more. I've actually been working quite a bit on all different kinds of Firestar builds. I'm working on a Kawaki Meru version, a Gladiator Beast version, a Fire King version, a Fire King Gladiator FireFist version. It is going to be interesting what all this type of deck can be made into. Just Bear and Gorilla, along with 3 Tenki, a Tensu, and maybe Tencents, are extremely splashable. They're actually almost an engine on their own, just because they search. Each of them can search for the search card or the double summon card, and pop them off to pop monsters on your opponent's side of the field. In fact, I've seen some decks in the OCG that will run 3 FireFist Bear and 3 Tenki as an engine just to pop monsters, and then run a completely different deck otherwise. So it's interesting, and it's going to be fun to see what it does in the TCG. Anyways, just wanted to bring this deck to you guys because I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like the video if you actually liked it. Other than that, let me know in the comments why you didn't like it. Either way, thank you for watching YouTube. Have a good one.